shame will pull you away
Done
from
that.
the Lord every single time.
Yeah,
And
I won that medal.
yeah, and I'm like, and that's what happened, right? The more I compromised, the more shame came in,
Yep.
and the more I wanted to hide from fellowship, hide from family, hide
Yeah.
from people that care and love me,
From the
hide
light.
from the Lord.
Yeah, John says, people that are in sin hate the light.
Yeah,
That would be us when we're in shame.
yeah, it's true, man. Like shame is, conviction will draw you closer to the Lord.
Yeah.
But shame will, and that's how you identify which one's which, right? Like,
Totally.
if you're dealing with sin, if
Yeah.
it's conviction, it's going to pull you closer.
It hurts so good.
Yeah, and if it's shame, you're going to find yourself isolated.
Hi, welcome to Cultural Catalyst, where we teach you how to live fully live, co-labor with God, and change the world. And I have Ahab. Okay, here we go. Alhindi. How did I do?
Nailed it, dude.
There it is, bro. I love it. Hey, thanks for being on Cultural Catalyst.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
And how long have we been friends? Well, I mean, known each other.
Well, I've known you longer than you know me, but I went to Latvia with you years ago.
You did. That had to be 15 years ago, probably 14.
It was right before I got married, so probably about 14 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're a business guy.
Yep.
You're an author.
Yeah.
And you own a local Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, one of them.
One of them. Yeah, there's two of them now. Exactly. And you're married. You got how many kids? 4 or 5?
5 kids, man.
5 children.
Yeah. I think we're done. I think we're done. Jesse would have a different answer to that.
She wants some more kids.
Yeah, she's all about it, man.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
She took that like.
It's usually the woman who's like, I'm done.
No.
No, she's like,
No, she's
let's
like.
have more children.
She wants more.
And you have puppies.
Too many puppies.
She raises puppies.
She sells golden doodles, Australian labradoodles.
She breeds them.
retrievers. Yeah, she breeds them. They all grow up in our house.
I was
It's really
thinking,
cool, actually.
if you turn one of those into a mental health dog, you could stay more connected.
Her clients have done it. They've
Seriously?
turned them into service animals.
You're not one of the clients, though.
I need it though. Me and Chelsea, she's mine. I just sit with her on my lap, dude. I need it.
Tell us a little bit about your story,
Yeah.
the Jesus part of your story, not the
whole thing?
I have 5 children growing.
I won't tell the story of how they came about.
Okay, no.
But
You got saved.
I did get saved February 25th in 2000. And then like 10 months later, I'm in Bible college. I dropped out of school. I was actually studying biochemistry so I can become a doctor.
Oh my gosh.
I'm Arab, dude. It was like a requirement.
I'm Spanish. They're like, you like to work in the fields?
my dad was like, you can become a doctor or you can become a lawyer. Like just whichever one you want. You have options.
My grandfather was like, you want to be a farmer or a mechanic?
Is that the
Oh,
choices?
yeah. Higher education was for people who didn't know how to farm or
fix
things.
My parents were first generation, so they're like, what's the quickest way for your kid to become successful in America?
Wow.
Higher education. So become a doctor, become a lawyer. Just that's what you do. And so
So how long were you in school?
I was in my 3rd year at college, got saved, and then
You were in medical school for 3
no.
Oh.
I was in college.
Oh, taking your pre-med
Yeah,
stuff.
so it was like studying biochem.
Yeah.
Getting ready to start applying for medical schools and stuff like that, and then I gave my heart to Jesus. Radical encounter. Lord walked up to me, says it's time, and I just
Like in your dorm room or something?
no. I went to church. I had never been to a Protestant church before. I grew
Wow.
up Greek Orthodox, and walked into this Protestant church. My buddy got saved about 6 months before me. He invited me. Like hungover, sitting through worship, just like waiting for the thing to get over.
Wow.
And then they do an altar call at the end where they have, if you need prayer, come forward.
I honestly never heard this story.
Dude,
all these years I've known you.
This is probably one of the coolest stories I got. So
Yeah.
you're lucky.
It's good to know you're saved because I've been wondering
I know
about that part.
There are questions out there, but like it was pretty wild. So I'm sitting there in the pews, and my buddy walks up and he gets on his knees to pray, and it was the first familiar thing I'd seen from my background, from Greek Orthodox, like somebody on their knees praying, and I was like, oh, like I can do that. And then I get down on my knees, I close my eyes, and then Jesus is there in my mind's eye, and he opens his arms and he says, "It's time."
So you kind of had a vision, but in your mind.
In my mind.
Not with your eyes.
Not with my eyes open.
Wow.
He says, "It's time," and he wraps his arms around me. And 45 minutes later, I'm on the floor, just like bawling, crying, snot bubbles, the whole deal, man.
Whoa.
And
that's really saved.
and it was like that. Like I got kicked out of my parents' house. I went home. I repented to them, and I was just like,
You got kicked out of your parents' house because you were a Christian?
No, because because like before that,
how you were behaving,
how I was living.
Yeah.
And I repented to my parents. I told them what happened. They were super skeptical, but they brought me back in. And
how old were you?
I was 20 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And then went back to college, was going to go get my degree. And I was going to church like 5 days a week, dude.
Wow.
Because I didn't know if what the church I got saved at was telling me was true. So I was like, I'd go to like,
oh, you go to different churches?
Different churches every day of the week. I went to my church on Sunday. I went to the Hispanic church on Tuesday, the Black church on Wednesday. Like because anybody who was open, I would just show up because they were talking about tongues. They were talking about
they were charismatics.
They were charismatics, and so I didn't know. I had never heard any of this stuff. It was so foreign to me. I just started going to churches, and on Monday nights I would go to Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa.
Oh yeah,
because it was right next to my college. They have the afterglow for those guys.
Amazing. Like Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa really is. I never went there.
Yeah,
but it was where the Jesus movement started.
Yeah,
Lonnie Frisbee, all the Jesus people, and I didn't even know I was a Jesus people till literally 10 years later.
Oh really?
Yeah, my spiritual mentor was actually related to that whole Calvary Chapel movement.
Oh wow!
That actually embraced the whole fathering movement, the shepherding movement. And a lot of people didn't like the shepherding movement years later, but it was great for me.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So you went to Calvary Chapel for a while?
Just because I was just going to every church I could go to.
Yeah. Not because you got saved there or anything.
Yeah. And so I just kind of did that, like not knowing what I was doing, but I was just so hungry for the word, so hungry for the Lord. I was at church 5 days a week, man. Like,
oh my gosh.
It was great. I loved it. And then about 10 months in, I was like, man. Well, about 6 months in, I dropped out of college. My parents were so livid, man.
I bet. Were they paying for your college?
No, we were poor, so the government paid for my college.
That's why your parents wanted you to be a doctor. Yeah. You're our retirement plan, boy. You're going to go there and let the government fund you and get us out of this.
My uncle paid for college.
Oh, he did?
Uncle Sam, yeah.
Uncle Sam. Bro, we got the same uncle.
Yeah, we're related. And then, so I ended up dropping out of school. Got into a big fight with my parents. It was a really cool moment though, because I remember the night I told my parents, "Hey, I'm leaving school. I'm going to go to a Bible college." They fought me tooth and nails about it, and I was like, I remember walking outside. I had a 1984 Plymouth Caravel, like.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm like leaning against the
That's
the
a
tire.
nerd car, bro.
Dude, it was nasty, dude. it was if you wanted to pretend you had a Cadillac.
No. That's I'm going to college car.
$150, man.
That's what I mean. That's I'm going to college car.
And I'm sitting next. I'm like leaning against a tire. I'm weeping because my parents were just like, "No, you can't do this." And then my dad comes out and he's just like, "Your mom and I just talked, and we just said, if God is telling you to do something, who are we to stop him?"
Wow. Well,
and
your dad had a Jesus moment.
He did, man. And my parents. It's funny because I reminded my dad years later. I was like, "Do you remember when we were driving and you said your one wish is that one of your kids would serve the Lord?"
But were your parents Christians? They were Orthodox, right?
Orthodox, yeah, Greek Orthodox.
But did they actually have a salvation experience, or was it just religion?
I think they did. You know, my dad. Once I committed my life to the Lord, my whole family really started. Like the dominoes started going. Like my dad really committed. My mom did. I got to lead my brother to the Lord.
That's awesome.
And then my sister gave her heart to the Lord. My other brother did, and it was really cool. Like it was like the domino effect happened, and they were seeing the fruit of my life, and it was kind of like, all right, something can happen here. You know,
I received Christ, like 3 times. I kept raising my hand, nothing happened. But one time I come home and I'm probably, oh gosh, that time I'm probably 17.
Yeah.
So I raised my hand and I'm like, pray the prayer. And I come home and I'm like, Mom, I'm a Christian. And she's like, you're a Christian? I'm like, yeah. So then about 15 minutes after I got home, 2 Jehovah's Witnesses come to the door, right? So heck, I don't know these guys, I don't know, one religion from another. So they open the door and like, we're here to share the good news. I'm like, the good news, that is awesome. And I open the screen door and I hug them both, these guys. I'm like, I just received Jesus. And they're like, yeah, Jesus is a part of the good news. I'm like, I know. And so I'm like, bro, this is so cool. Like literally like 1 hour ago, I raised my hand and received Christ. And he sends me you guys. And the guys are like so nervous. They're like, yeah, yes, he did. I don't know what to say. And so, I talked to them for like 5 minutes. I did most of the talking and they hand me the Watchtower, I'm like, and they're like, just read this. This will be helpful. So I closed the door. My mom's waiting for me in the front room, And I said, Mom, this is amazing. I received Christ. And the Lord already sent me 2 people to encourage me. And she looks at she goes, that's the Watchtower. Those are Jehovah's Witnesses. Those aren't Christians. I'm like, oh, they aren't? That's how stupid I was. I didn't know anything about religion.
But like, nobody knows anything really. Yeah. Like before you give your heart to the Lord, it's like we're all just throwing darts at a dartboard trying to figure it out.
Totally.
And then some of us got lucky enough to like really commit, and then the Lord just always meets us wherever we are. Like it's awesome. Like
it's beautiful.
It really is. It's incredible.
So you went to Bible college finally.
I did.
Where did you go to Bible college at?
I went to it was Life Bible College, turned into Life Pacific.
Bible College Foursquare?
Foursquare, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jack Hayford.
That's right. So I got saved at a Foursquare church.
You did?
Yeah. And then ended up going to the Bible college, and it was a great experience.
Did Hayford teach there?
He was at the graduation, but he didn't teach there.
Wow.
He taught at the King Seminary.
He was literally my hero.
You met him, didn't you?
I met him. Oh, man. I met him. Like, literally, in those days, there was cassette. You could get on a list of cassette tapes, right? So on like a monthly mailer. And so you'd get a monthly cassette tape of Hayford's. And then I would listen to that thing when I was working in a repair shop. I'd literally listen to it 30, 40 times. I mean, we didn't have internet or anything.
Yeah.
And then you get the next one, the next month.
Yeah.
And so that guy was my hero. I went to Van Nuys one time for an automotive seminar I had to go to, and they had 4 services on Sunday, and I took a bus to the service, and I took it to the wrong place. Anyway, I was going to be there for all 4 services, and I made it just in time for the last one.
Oh, wow.
And he was preaching, and it's the first time I'd ever heard him preach live, man. It was like, I don't even know how, I was so stunned to see this man live. Like I had listened to him for like 5 years on cassette tape.
Yeah.
And then years later, I saw him live at Bethel when I was a young man. And then about 7-8 years ago, he was at Bethel for us. I remember that. And I said to Bill Johnson, I said, is there any way I could meet with him for 10 minutes? And I was still like starstruck. Like this man had such a huge impact on my life from a distance. Yeah. And he's like, so Bill's like, I'll ask him. So he's like, oh, I'd love to meet with you. So we get in Bill's office. We're sitting in Bill's office. Bill's not there. It's just him. It's just Jack Hayford. And I'm just like, like by now I'm like, what? I'm like 62 years old. And I'm like, I can't believe it's almost like my first date or something. I'm so shocked the way I'm behaving inside, And I sit down and as soon as I sit down, he goes, Kris, I've read 2 of your books. Like,
Wow.
your revelation's amazing. And I'm like, you read 2 of my books?
Wow.
He's like, yeah, you and Bill. And he starts just I got like my 10 questions I'm going to ask him.
Yeah.
And he's like, you and Bill, what you're doing in the earth is so important. And he spends a half an hour encouraging me.
Wow.
I was like, I got out of there and I just went to my office and wept. And I was like, unbelievable man. Wow. Unbelievable man.
Yeah. That's how you may not even realize it, but that's so many people with you.
I know people respond that way sometimes. They meet and they come up and they're crying and they're like, "You had a huge impact in my life," and I'm like, unaware. And then I think about my, response to Hayford.
Yeah. Like I remember arguing with you for months.
Did you?
Never in person, never even out loud.
Oh,
but like I'm not a sinner. Like that
when you receive Christ.
Like that conversation.
Yeah.
Of like, I'm not a sinner.
Yeah.
And listening to your teachings, reading your books, and I'm sitting there like, no, he's wrong. He's wrong. And then you read the Bible.
That's right there.
And it's right there.
Right there in the Bible.
And I'm like, why did I believe this for so long? But like, and then when I met you in person, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Kris Vallotton. He changed my life.
Bro, I walked into Bill's office the first year I was here, and I said, I have this idea. He said, what is it? I said, I think after we see Christ, we're not sinners. Then he goes, well, that's something to think about. That was his first response. I'm like, yeah, it is. And I walked out there. And I'm
He's
like,
a man of few words.
Don't ever say that again. No, I mean, that's just where we were in those days.
Yeah.
All of us. Hi, I'm Kris Vallotton. I'm the founder of Regis. I want to talk to you a little bit about it. Are you a senior executive or business leader? You're ready to really connect with God's heart for your work? Well, we designed the Regis Summit where faith and the marketplace collide. We're igniting vision, we're redefining purpose, and we're forging kingdom partnerships. This is going to be an intimate 2.5-day event exclusively for only 50 senior executives. And we're offering strategies for personal and corporate spiritual growth while we're really redefining what success looks like in the kingdom. Not long ago, the Lord gave me a prophetic word. He said, prepare for the kings are coming. And I'm like, Lord, who are the kings? How do I prepare? And how do I help the kings? And the Lord told me that he is connecting the prophets, the priests, and the kings. And I'm like, okay, how do we connect the prophets, the priests, and the kings? Well, out of that was birthed this Regis Summit. Again, 50 executives, small group of people having a supernatural experience together, all with the theme of leadership and business. It's a gathering where we're going to build deep connections with one another. We're actually going to do some equipping and some prophetic stuff over every single leader that's there. So there'll be prophetic sessions. There'll be, I think, some really profound business insights. How do you lead with the Holy Spirit? How do you actually find your superpower? And how do you infuse that into your everyday life? I think it's going to be fantastic. So I'd love for you to join us. It's May 28th through 30th. It's in Scotts Valley, California. There's a super beautiful retreat center. It's going to be 2.5 days of just really, I think, kind of laid back and yet intense ministry. So obviously, there's only room for 50. So we want to see 50 executives who are hungry to have a supernatural experience and also learn more about how do we join the prophets, priests, and kings. Space limited again. Love to see you sign up. God bless you. So you went to Bible college. Did you finish Bible college?
I did. Yeah, I graduated in 2004.
2 years?
Well, yeah, because they took some of my credits from my other college, and then I ended up taking way too many units. I was working at Disneyland. I was pastoring at a church. I was also the maintenance.
You were pastoring at a church?
Yeah.
When you're brand new saved?
Dude, like maybe a year and a half after I went to Bible college. The following year, I was the director of the outreach at the Bible college. And then I got asked by one of the professors on campus to come and be one of the youth pastors at his church. and it was a Korean church, and so I fit right in.
Bro, it ended up being automatically a multicultural church right here.
I was there.
Here's our pastor, Ahab.
Yeah, I was the token brown guy, dude.
Jeez.
So, just it happened so quick, you know, like
Man,
everything.
that's amazing.
Everything was like boom, 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 and then I met the wrong girl, and I kind of had a falling away from the Lord for a season, and
Her parents think she met the wrong boy.
yeah, they did actually. Earl told me that.
Exactly. So you fell away for a little bit?
Yeah, about 2-3 years until one of your students came and visited me, a guy I did Bible college with.
Was falling away look like doing drugs or
I wasn't into
living
drugs.
immorally?
Yeah, I was living immorally. I was honestly, I was so depressed. So I was drinking to fall asleep most nights.
Why did you do that? Like you had such a powerful encounter.
Yeah.
And then, right away go to Bible. I mean, like all of that. It seems like for where you were going,
Yeah.
it seems like the polar opposite. Like you just fell in love with the girl who wasn't like really walking with the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of it right there. That's the real story.
It's like the whole deal right there. And honestly,
There's a little bit Samson and Delilah kind of thing.
And you know, shame is so powerful.
Oh, I know. Been there.
Shame will pull you away
Done
from
that.
the Lord every single time.
Yeah.
And
I won that medal.
yeah. And I'm like, and that's what happened, right? The more I compromised, the more shame came in.
Yep.
And the more I wanted to hide from fellowship, hide from family,
Yeah.
hide from people that care and love me,
From the
hide
light.
from the Lord.
Yeah, John says, people that are in sin hate the light.
Yeah.
That would be us when we're in shame.
Yeah. It's true, man. Like shame is, conviction will draw you closer to the Lord.
Yeah, yeah.
But shame will, and that's how you identify which one's which, right? Like
Totally.
if you're dealing with sin, if
Yeah.
it's conviction, it's going to pull you closer.
It hurts so good.
Yeah, and if it's shame, you're going to find yourself isolated.
It hurts so bad.
Yeah, man. And
So you literally walked away for like 3 years from the Lord.
yeah, I didn't go to church, didn't read my Bible. I remember one day, man, I was sitting on my porch, and this is how far I had gone, right? I'm on my back porch, and I'm looking up in the sky, and I'm like, Jesus, if you still think about me, would you just like let me see a shooting star right now? And just like something, like I'll take anything right now. If you just even think about me.
Did anything happen?
Man, if a shooting star in Southern California were to show up, that's a real miracle, dude. No, I didn't see anything. But about a month later,
Yeah.
one of my closest friends from Bible college came to visit me. He was a student at the school of ministry, and he's like, "Hey, man, like." He's like telling me testimony after testimony after testimony, and I'm like shocked because he's telling me more testimonies in 5 minutes.
This is from BSSM,
BSSM.
from our school, not the
your
school you were in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
BSSM.
right. Yeah.
And he's just telling me so many testimonies of like miracles and healings, and it was like I was like, I've never heard this much. I'm like, what do you walk around like Benny Hinn on the streets? Like
Yeah.
This is crazy. And one morning he's like, hey, just like put your hands out, and I put my hands out, and he's like, the presence of God's going to come on you right now. And he did.
Seriously.
Like, just by like him saying it.
Just speaking.
Just saying it. And I'm like, what was that? And then he led me into an encounter. He just lay down. The presence of God's going to come over you. And then for 45 minutes, wave after wave of the presence of God just is rushing over my body.
Were you
And
still living with the chick?
Yeah. I was like still like in sin.
Yeah.
And the Lord didn't care. He's just like, I love you too much to let you stay like that.
Yep.
And it's like that verse in Romans where he says, where sin abounds, grace abounds.
Yeah.
And I was praying one day about this, and I was like, why do you do that? Like, because Paul even had to say, like, so we keep on sinning so that we can have more grace. Like,
Yeah. Should we?
Yeah.
Should we keep on sinning so we get more grace?
And he says, of course not, right? And I'm sitting there like, man, like, why do you do this? And I had this moment where the Lord was like, I felt like it was the Lord. He's like, if there wasn't grace in there, I couldn't show up. So where sin is, I pump grace so I can get closer because I want to be the biggest influence.
Did you immediately have a change after that?
Dude, it was like night and day.
So did you move out with the girl?
A couple months later, I was in school
freak
ministry,
her out?
man.
What was she thinking?
She was devastated. She was she wasn't all about it.
She wasn't.
No, she didn't like the changes in me. She didn't want it for me.
Wow.
And yeah.
And then you came to school ministry.
And then I came to school ministry, and I did the 3 years.
Were you freaked at first?
I'm a really competitive person, right?
Yeah.
And so when I got to school,
you own Chick-fil-A here.
when I came to school, it was like all I knew. The only guys I'd ever met were the Emerald Johnson Award winners before I got here.
You're like, I'm getting me one of those.
I'm like, well, I guess that's what the BSSM students look like, like. And so I was just praying for people all the time. I was on the streets. I did 5 activations a week. Like,
wow.
I was just
Were you seeing a lot of miracles?
Yeah, dude, it was fun, man. I remember when Randy Clark came out.
Oh man.
Yeah, that first year, and I don't know what changed, but I instead of just praying for people on the streets, I was like, I'm going to just ask people if they want Jesus afterwards. And I led 12 people to the Lord that week.
Oh my God.
And I was like, holy cow, like this is amazing. It works.
Not holy cow though. That golden calf thing got Aaron in trouble. Those are not good.
No. And so like I started seeing a lot of miracles in my life.
Amazing. You did all 3 years.
I did all 3. And,
Yeah.
and then my time with Steve Backlund was probably I interned for Steve.
Mr. Positive.
Dude.
Everybody wanted to intern for him. Still does.
Yeah. And I remember I met with him, and I was so arrogant. I was like, man, I'm like going to be this incredible evangelist someday, like on stage leading millions.
You would be
to the
lucky
Lord.
to have me.
Yeah, and I had that mentality.
Yeah.
And so we're out to lunch one day, and I was like, so if you had someone like me for a year, what would you do with them? And I'm thinking like he's going to start like pivoting his ministry.
He's going to pitch to get you.
Yeah. And he's like, if I had someone like you, Ahab, he goes, I would make sure to go after what they believe about themselves, about God, and about other people. And then right there I heard the whisper of the Lord, and that's what you need. And he changed my life, man.
Wow.
Radically changed my life.
He's such a good man.
He just the way he goes after what you believe.
Yeah.
And it forced me to go, what do I believe? Like, what do I believe about God? Like, I know I say a lot of stuff about God. I know I have thoughts about God, but what do I actually believe? Do I actually believe he's good?
What will I die for?
Yeah. And like, what do I believe about other people?
Totally.
Like when I'm in conflict with them, what am I actually believing about this person?
He's a fantastic man.
Yeah. He changed my life, man.
And Wendy, his wife.
Oh man.
I met them when they lived in the wilderness, like literally lived in the wilderness.
Did you were in Round Mountain?
Heck yeah. I've been there like 7 times. I'll never forget that. It took you like 3 days to get there almost. That's exaggerating, but it did take you like 9 hours drive. And you go down this road and you turn right onto this road, never forget it. It says loneliest highway in America.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you drive on that highway for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Then you turn off of that to a lonelier highway.
Did you drive with him by any chance?
Never.
Oh, he plays this ridiculous game when you're driving. This is how boring that drive is. He's like, try to guess how many miles till that next slump down. And then you're like 4.8 miles. And that's how boring of a drive this
so
thing
boring. I probably was there 5 or 6 times, and then we started flying there in a small plane, which was like only an hour and a half flight. But that man built a beautiful oasis, literally a Holy Spirit oasis in the desert.
There's a town of like 600.
Yeah.
And I think they had like 200-300 people at their church.
Totally. Like, and all those people work in the mine.
Yeah.
Like one of the largest mines in America.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I interrupted your story though.
Oh.
So he was your mentor.
Yeah.
Where did you find your woman?
I met her in, I don't think I ever told you this story. And so
You never told me most of these stories.
Because I let you talk whenever we hang out, dude. I told you earlier. I was like, when I meet with Kris, I'm there to listen.
No, this is you.
And so,
Jesse.
I am in school of ministry. Jessie did school of ministry the year before me. And then she goes back home to Canada. And so I'm on a flight. I was dating this girl. It didn't work out. Literally just had the breakup talk before I got on the flight. And I'm sitting there on the flight, and I'm like, Lord, like, why do I mess up every relationship I'm in? Like, why? I feel like I sabotage every relationship I'm in. And then, so we're flying, And then the presence of the Lord comes into the cabin. And I have this knowing in my spirit that I'm going to meet somebody at the wedding. And I'm like,
You're going to a wedding.
I was headed to my friend David DeLuey's wedding.
Oh, David's wedding. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had this knowing that I'm going to meet somebody at the wedding. And the guy behind me leans over and whispers Jessica into my right ear. And I look behind me and there's nobody there. And I'm like,
seriously?
Yeah.
Like an audible voice.
Like I heard it, like I turned around to see who was there and there was nobody in the aisle in the row behind me. And I'm like, what the heck just happened?
What kind of prayer is she praying that inspires an audible voice?
Here's the crazy part. So Jessie is about to back out to go to the wedding. And her mom goes, no, you need to go to the wedding. You might meet your husband there. Isn't that crazy?
Bro, that is just a weird story. It's good weird.
We're at the wedding. And
now, she was going to the same school you went to, but you were 2 years ahead.
Yeah, she was at BSSM the year before me.
Did you ever see her before?
Never met her. We were supposed to meet in Michigan, not on purpose.
You've seen her, but you never met her.
Never seen her, never met her.
Oh, never seen her?
No. So like apparently I was at a Chris Overstreet ministry thing in Michigan, and she was apparently going to come, and then her sister had some incident, so she couldn't make it. And
wow.
We found all this out after the fact, you know? And then, and so we get to the wedding. It was beautiful. And then Thomas Blackman, who's one of my dearest friends, is talking to this gorgeous woman. And I'm like, hey, dude, like, who is
get
that?
her for me, Lord.
And he's like, he goes, that's Jessica. And immediately I remembered the encounter on the plane. And I was like, dude, you have to introduce me to her. And so he introduces me to her. She ends up writing her vows to me before we ever met that night. She saw me at the wedding. At her table, she wrote her vows to me.
To you?
To me.
Or to just someone?
To me. She saw me,
Bro,
felt like the Lord was speaking to her.
This is like, you can't even have a problem in your marriage when you have all this stuff going on.
Dude, it's crazy. Like when we do struggle in our marriage, like we always come back to the point that like the Lord brought us together.
You go get those vows.
Yeah. You better read them. What did you say you were going to do?
Yeah. Let's go back to the foundation of our marriage. What the Lord tell you to write to me before? Oh, that's an amazing story.
It's crazy.
I never heard that story.
Yeah, like we've had so many. It's wild because even while we were dating, we had different prophets, different people prophesy that we were going to get married, and all of them would say, "Well, no, we're not supposed to do dates, made some babies, but the two of you."
Yeah, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah,
and violate every principle.
Everybody, dude. Everybody.
And how long did you date?
A year and a half. Well, we were dated for just a little over a year. I asked her to marry me about a year and 2 months into knowing each other, and then 6 months later we got married.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you guys, I know you did a bunch of ministry. You guys started restaurants.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? Like you so wanted to be in the career. I mean, well, let me say this first of all. I think as soon as you receive Christ, you're in the ministry.
Yes.
There's no such thing as a secular. You can't be secular anymore.
Yeah.
So
agree.
everything you do is ministry. So when I say you wanted to be in the ministry, I mean you wanted to be a pastor or something traditional.
Yeah.
But what happened?
I walked into a coffee shop, and the Lord said, "I want you to buy this place."
Seriously, that's how it happened?
That's literally how it happened. And
were you married yet?
8 months in.
Whew.
Dude.
Bro, that's hard.
Yeah. We miscarried within the first 3 months of like starting the restaurant.
I remember that.
Like both of us working 70, 80 hours a week. Just like, we opened at 6:30 in the morning. We closed at 10 p.m. at night, and we're open 7 days a week. And we only had like 3 staff.
And you had no money.
We had no money. I had to borrow money from my dad.
How far along was Jess when she miscarried?
Like maybe a month and a half.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was tragic. It was one of those things where you just like it.
Did you feel like it was your fault that you were pushing so hard?
I felt like I pushed my wife.
Yeah.
I felt like, and she felt that too. She blamed herself. I blamed myself, and I just remember,
But it happens.
Yeah,
it happens to people who sit at home and do nothing. Right?
Yeah.
No, but I mean that's that shame thing again.
Yeah.
That wants to destroy.
It always wants to destroy you.
Yeah.
And but we brought it to the Lord every day, man. Like I remember just weeping and weeping.
Oh.
And but it was also, you didn't have a whole lot of time.
So you guys have 5 kids.
Yeah.
How many times have you miscarried?
That was the only time.
The first time
Yeah.
you miscarried. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
How long before she got pregnant again? Were you trying to get pregnant again?
After that, because we were
Scared.
like, we're going to wait. Like,
Kind
we
of
don't,
scared.
after that, I was like, I want to be a dad. I was like,
So
something came alive.
Something something turned on in you.
I was like, I want to be a dad. Like, this
So
is
good.
all I've ever wanted. I didn't know I wanted to be a dad until it happened. Because I wanted to wait. I was like, I want to enjoy being married. I've never been married before. And that was like,
And you get to have sex for the first time without any, like,
No.
and it's all blessed.
it's all awesome.
It's all awesome. Exactly.
And so that was, that going into business was like this crazy,
Oh,
like
man.
journey. And I remember sitting on my bed before we decided to do it, and I'm just crying, looking in the mirror, like, and I'm like scared. I'm just scared. Like, are we going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to do this?
This after you bought the business or
This
before?
is before. And I remember like just sitting there staring in the mirror. And I'm like, you can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And I had no idea Jessie was at the door. And she opens the door and she's weeping. And she goes, if you can do it, I can do it too. And I was like, wow, if I have a partner in this.
Like
I
you
know
were
it.
saying out loud.
Just to myself, like, I can do this.
But you were actually verbalizing you could do this.
I can do this.
So
yeah.
she actually heard you
She
say
heard
that.
me say it. And she's like, if you can do it, I can do it too.
Have you already lost a child by then?
We lost a child about maybe 8 weeks later, 6 weeks later.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And then,
What a traumatic time.
dude, it was just pain after pain.
First
and then
year of
you're not
marriage.
making any money, right?
Yeah.
And-
It's like a volunteer slavery
Yeah. Like,
at first when you first start because you
I
don't know
don't
what
think
the
I
heck you're doing.
took home income from that business for 2 years.
How did you make a living?
I still traveled and spoke.
Yeah.
I was still speaking at churches, and
Yeah.
if I didn't do that, I don't think we would have made it.
So you opened no, you didn't open a restaurant. You bought a restaurant.
Yeah,
right?
it was going out of business, and
You're like, I could save it.
yeah, I did. I honestly didn't know anything. I knew nothing about business, and so I started reading like crazy. I read 30 books that year.
You got hungry? No, I got really broke.
Really desperate.
Like somebody must know something about this, right?
And nobody,
Bro, I know it so well. I did the same
the
thing.
business world is so closed off. Like if you know how to get successful, you're either going to charge a buttload to somebody else so they can figure it out,
Yeah.
or you're going to shut your mouth. And that's at least what my experience was.
Yeah.
So I've actually gone polar opposite. I'll meet with anybody and just
Yeah.
and tell them how to get successful.
Yeah.
Because it's actually not as hard as people make it seem. You just have to spend less money in your business than you make. Like
It's a little bit.
it's actually
It was like a
it's
perfect quote. It's super easy to make money. You just have to spend less than you make. The challenge is trying to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
It is true.
No, it's true.
But it's like if you're a W-2 income employee, like, yes, you just spend less money than you make.
Exactly.
Most people can't do that. So if you're able to do it, you're more successful than the guy next to you.
You're more
with the same
successful
problems.
than you were before you were starving. Except for in business, there's all these other interruptions. Like
Tons of
they're called
interruptions.
customers.
They're great people.
They are. Some of them are your friends and they don't pay you. Oh man, you're gonna get me started. Now I'm gonna do all the talking if we're not
I
careful.
stopped working the register because at first I would work the register.
Oh yeah.
I stopped working the register because there was a part of me that wanted my friends to be blessed by eating at my restaurant. And there was a part of me that wanted their money really badly. Right. And so I was like, let me eliminate this tension point for me. And I'll just stop being the person taking the orders. Because I just I wanted that tension point.
Do you know what I did? I put 2 signs up. This is like year 3. One of them said, "In God we trust, all others pay cash." And the other says, "We have to charge our friends, our enemies don't come in here." Literally, I put
Well, you're
those
in
up
such a
out of
small town, you
complete
have to.
frustration. Yeah, you know what my friends would do? They would come to my shop when they didn't have any money to get their cars fixed or gas or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when they have money, they go next door because they do it cheaper. And so I'm over here like, they still haven't paid their bill. And I'm like, they're over at Larry's.
Dude.
You know how many times I walk across the street and go, "Hey, bro, Why are you at Larry's? Like, you still owe me $300. You told me you're going to pay me last
That's
3 Fridays ago. Oh, yeah, something else broke, and Larry's a little cheaper. But here I am sitting holding on to that you owe me $300, and you're going to go to Larry's because Larry's like $20 cheaper?
Dude.
Bro. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so that's my gig. Let's keep going.
We can talk about that.
How long was it before you started like to make a living in your business, honestly?
It was about 2 years.
Yeah.
It was right around the 2-year mark. I had built a team for 2 years, just really working on developing people, getting leadership inside, having a bench in my leadership. I had a guy running the store, and then right around the 2-year mark, we opened the second location, and 2-3 years, something like that, and that was when we really started humming.
Make a living.
Yeah, our systems were down pretty strong. Once we figured out the systems, everything else was duplicatable, and we were, if Chick-fil-A didn't come and approach me, we would probably have just continued to reinvest and grow.
Now you're in Chick-fil-A, franchise.
Yeah.
So they have systems
Yeah.
that you had to learn.
Yeah, that's right.
Which probably many of them were the same, right?
Yeah,
business
very
is
similar.
business in some ways.
Yeah.
But a franchise,
Yeah.
how's that been?
The transition is difficult. I think it was more difficult for me than from a guy who like grew up in the Chick-fil-A brand.
Yeah.
Because coming from outside, I'm very entrepreneurial. So I'm always looking for new opportunities. I'm always looking to tweak whatever anybody's doing. I'm like, is this the best way?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I know it's the way, but is it the best way? And so I think I was always kind of just pushing the line a little bit. But once I figured out how to operate inside there and what they consider ingenuity, inside
best
that
business practices kind of thing.
Yeah, and then I would also like try to make it a little bit better, and so we were always looking to elevate. Like I love my location.
Yeah,
like
I love too.
Like I really think we have one of the best locations out there. Like genuinely, I get compliments on a regular basis, and the number one thing I hear is my people are the best. And that's the truth. I have the best people. We have incredible people in my business.
It's amazing, because you think about, first of all, there are, many, many people that visit your business and many other businesses across the country that will never come to a church, right?
Yeah, it's true, man.
Probably never step in church. And you're in a franchise business that was started by a Christian.
Yeah.
Who they don't even open on Sundays still to this day.
Yeah.
So there's a foundation of holiness and godliness. I'm not saying not opening Sunday is holy or not holy. I'm saying that they dedicated it to the Lord.
Yeah.
And from the standpoint of the kingdom, from the standpoint of Jesus, like what is your goal
in my business
for a customer,
for the guest experience?
Yes.
We're actually about a year into a game plan for the guest experience. We tried it last year, and we were like, hey, let's make a goal of having a world-class guest experience in our business. And we're like, that's so foreign because most people look at us and think fast food.
Yeah.
But what if we flipped it on top of its head and we went after world-class guest experience? And so we tried all these things, and we kept on failing and failing and failing and failing. We're like, what are we doing wrong? And we ended up hitting this reality. I think it was September. I have my annual planning meeting, planning for the following year. And I'm like, if we don't retain our best people, it's impossible to create the kind of culture where world-class guest experience can happen. So if we actually want this, then our best people have to stay on our team.
Yeah.
And so we have to figure out how do we take the best care of our best people.
Fast food restaurant. You don't have a IT corporation with super high margins.
Yeah. And so I one of the coolest parts is 23% of my staff right now have been with me since we opened.
Wow.
Another 23% have been with me for 3 years or more.
In a fast food restaurant.
Yeah. And it was that we had this revolving door around like the 3 to 6 month mark,
Yeah.
where if they didn't get connected quickly, they would fall out.
Yeah.
And so we were like, how do we retain quality people? And so we have an agreement with a school called Point University, where I'll pay for any of my employees to go to college.
That's amazing.
And so they just pay for their books, and everything else is covered. I take care of it. We have a leadership development program in our business. We have I do financial health workshops for all my employees. If one of my team members wants to meet with me to talk about their finances, how to get out of debt, I'll do one-on-one and create a 6-month, 8-month, 10-month plan
So
on how to
good.
get out of debt. I do a physical health workshop on how to get healthy. How do you love yourself into a healthy body? And then we do an emotional health workshop. And then there's been conversations, just people in our business who are like, hey, like you could just you hear them talking about like asking about God,
Totally.
and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. And so some of them were like, hey, you go to church, right? Like, can you tell me about God? And I'm like, yeah, meet me on Sunday at 3 p.m. and I'll talk to you about God. And like we're just having these conversations, and it's cool because like if you don't pay them, you can talk to them, and if they're asking, why
Yeah,
not, right?
of course.
It's like if someone came to my door and asked me about Jesus, I'm not going to turn them away. But those are the kind of things that are like you have this opportunity that if you live the gospel, like Corinthians says, that we diffuse the knowledge of God everywhere that we go.
Yeah.
You know, and to the righteous, it's a sweet aroma. To the dying, it smells like death. You know,
Yeah.
but like to people who are hungry, it makes them hungrier.
Yeah.
And it's just a part of who God made us to be. We're diffusing the knowledge of Him, and if we do it well, if we don't, I had this. I spoke at a business summit about a month ago, and I was driving down, and I was like, I'm just going to tell my story. So I'm like, it's not a Christian business summit; it's just a business summit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't tell my story and leave Jesus out of this story. Like,
Yeah.
it would be.
It's like telling a story about being married, but not talk about your wife.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm just going to talk about the Lord at this business summit because everything that I've accomplished is because of following His voice. Like
Yeah.
everything, every step.
Yeah.
Like when he told me to open a second location, I saw a picture in my mind of the location I was supposed to buy.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I drove over there and there was a business in it. And I was like, I must have missed it. And then on Craigslist, 3 months later, it's for sale. And I'm like, okay.
That's amazing.
It's every decision I've made leading me to any amount of success had the voice of the Lord in there.
It's so beautiful because you're recreating the environment that you got saved in from the standpoint of people being cared for, loved.
Yeah.
You're representing a good and an excellent God.
Mm.
And people come in to Chick-fil-A or they come into your presence and there's something in there that's like, wow, what is that? There's something special and different about that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important. You also lead our business you lead our business people at
Yeah.
Bethel. And I think the goal there is take the kingdom that's within you and spread it around you everywhere, whether it's your employees,
Yeah.
your suppliers, or your customers, and make sure that you actually displaying the love, the compassion, the power, and the presence of God, no matter where you're at. Because, I was in that world for more than 20 years and led lots of people to the Lord. Now, most time people come to church, like most of them are already saved. So,
Yeah.
and the crazy thing is that it felt like in some ways when I was in business, I had more impact, at least on the people who
Non-believers.
need it the most,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm so thankful for you. Hey, you wrote a book. Your name of your book is?
Limitless Intimacy.
And how do they get your book? Do I have it here?
It's on Amazon.
Okay, and we'll also put a connect to it too.
Oh, cool.
And then business people may be listening to us. How can they connect? Same thing.
Instagram, or they can go to championsleaders.com.
Ahab, thank you so much for being on.
Dude,
I
this
love you,
is
man.
awesome.
My good friend.
Yeah, it's good
and
to see
I
you,
love
man.
what you're doing. And I'm making you wealthy.
I
took one nugget at a time, bro.
Oh, you like the strips, don't
Yeah,
you?
like those strips. Yeah, you got me figured out already. And make sure they're warm, boys. Make sure those strips are warm. Thanks for being on, man.